Yeah, Gaiden, what are you doing? Oh, you're here hanging out, wanting to get some goods on the NFT space and Web3 overall. How phenomenal is that? Happy Monday. Welcome to another edition of XFeed. What's up? My name is The Schiller. If this is your first time tuning in, we are streaming over on Abstract as well. If you go to like the Abstract stream and then you type in Schiller, should be on there. And we're going to have to make sure that the stream is live here. And then we are good to go. And we are golden. All right, so today we're going to go over a couple of different crazy things as per usual. But one thing that I did notice is that we're starting to have a little bit more of people calling certain things out. Now, I think one of the things to note within this crazy world of Web3 is the fact that people are obsessive, and it's good. I mean, like, listen, you can go through the channel. And, you know, most of the videos that we have on like Futureverse, the Root Network, most of it's like off the top of my head type of deal, right? And there's people that notice certain things. And this conversation we're about to have is not necessarily about that, but I'm just trying to give the assumption that people are obsessed with things. I'm Tolly, what in the halibut is going on? I got a friend named Ballin Terps. He's into the thing called World of Women. You know, wow, the collection out there. Absolute expert on that. You're a collective expert on whatever you collect. And Abby Torres here had an interesting comment where they were going back and forth with the Vivi account. And the thing that was kind of weird about this is that there was a post a while ago from Vivi, which is a centralized digital collectible platform with a bunch of notable IPs that are associated with it. Mtali, what am I an expert on? Being first to the stream, being on time. You're poignant? No, not punctual. Tali's expert is being punctual. True. Even though that's not necessarily a specific subject, it's more of a broad term. But either way, let's go with it. So they had a post that said, "What happens to my digital collectibles if Vivi shuts down?" Because this is something that is a genuine concern within the space, as we've seen a lot of platforms shut down, even though they've had specific IP that's sold. And the thing that you're aware of, but I guess speaking it out loud, is that if there's a certain collection, let's use Lord of the Rings as an idea, even if a platform has Lord of the Rings IP officially branded NFTs, if that platform ceases to operate per se or continue to do different drops, you know, at some point in the future, there's still people that would be like, hey, that's an officially licensed thing with Lord of the Rings. Let me go out and buy it one day. But you can only do that if the platform is still offering that, or if it's decentralized and you can move your assets from one spot to another. So it says, we have a contingency plan in place should this happen, agreed with our licensors to ensure users retain access to the digital collectibles they have purchased. Now, this was back a couple of months ago. Yo, Dr. Bat Cow, what's going on? What's going on? And Tito's, good morning. And so Abby says, my comment got hidden by the Vivi account, which suggests three possibilities. One, you will not like the contingency plan. Example, you can no longer buy or sell. Two, it was another lie, no contingency plan. Or three, the person running that account is a buffoon. All right, let's she said it, not I. But the point being, it is a question that we kind of have to ask with certain ones of these platforms. And then Prez had this retweet from Javi, which was a video post from a person named Randy that I think was at some event that Gary V was at, which we're going to get to in a second. So if you haven't seen, Gary V's all over the timeline. They're really pushing VeeFriends. And how do I put this in like the right phrasing? During the NFT craze that was before, I think VeeFriends had a very good penetration to the non-Web3 audience. There was a lot of people that were onboarded to the entire space through the likes of Gary V. So they're trying to do that again, but this time through VeeFriends cards and collectibles versus having these NFTs. So anyway, the real Randy Chavez was out talking to Gary V about some of these bigger IPs. So let's hear what he had to say.
And obviously your VeeFriends are going to go crazy when the Banana Zone comes. To hedge your bets, do you happen to have any other IP outside your own, like Darth Vader or Secret Spider-Man on, just say, Vivi?
So, you know, Vivi's centralized, so it's a little bit different, you know? Yes, I think the Vivi, you know, energy, like, look, VeeFriends, Bored Ape, Doodles, Pudgy Penguins, all of us have 30, 40 years of work just to get to the levels of Star Wars and Marvel and all the big stuff. So I'm of the mindset of like all us newbies have a ton of work to do. When the other IPs that are really there start to make their first, you know, decentralized NFTs, it's going to be a real interesting movement. But 99% of NFTs, just like 99% of sports cards and art and comic books and watches and sneakers, won't have value because there won't be demand. but like doing what I'm doing here and things like this, the demand creation's the game.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Demand creation is the game. And good morning, Mr. RDL. How you doing? So very interesting post here, just from that perspective as well. The fact that he brought up that it was centralized, like the first thing that he mentioned of it being centralized is interesting. And we could go back and forth with the argument about whether that's good, whether that's bad. But again, the creation of demand, I love that line, and that's something that we definitely have to keep an eye on because we've seen a lot of collections out there that have done some crazy positive things, but if there's no demand and people don't see like the value proposition with it, or it's just not like a fun community around it, they're just going to be like, ah. Also, by the way, for a lot of these people, I follow them. X is like literally just saying don't fall back. Unbelievable. Ridiculous. And then ad name here. So Benefactor, who's like the CEO of Gala Games, which, you know, but sort of negative about Gala. So again, completely aware of that. But then there was this whole bunch of back and forth, and they're giving different perspectives on things, and then they're just blocking literally everything. This account's literally just blocking everything, and I don't think that there was necessarily anything inherently bad about what they were saying, because from my understanding, the conversation was around, yo, what's going on, Peckham? How are we doing? The conversation was around the fact that these Gala nodes, which Gala sold at different points, and they cost like $100,000 or something to buy right now, is that you would need to put like X amount of Gala tokens into them to continue earning, and basically have people like re-up on it because they've had like this yield over X amount of time, but then people are arguing over it, and again, nothing was like that crazy, but it's like, why do we keep having all of this stuff that is being seen as negative from these people when they're throwing out ideas, right? Like you have an entire fan base across sports that say, don't do this, we don't like that. Like the Luka Doncic trade. But then the managers still go out and do it. So it doesn't matter what the hell the people say online. Let them talk. Let them have the discussion that they want. I don't think we have anything that we've talked about root related, but if you have any questions or thoughts about things, feel free to bring it up. I'm down. Do we have sixth form antics again? Again, every day there's something ridiculous. But here's your bullish take of the day, okay? You're telling me that in 1 week, Stripe launched stablecoins in 100 plus countries, Ramp launched stablecoin cards, Superstate launched on-chain equities, Robinhood is building their own crypto platform, biggest deal in crypto history with Coinbase and Deribit, Meta is back in the stablecoin game, which that I don't know what that means. Obviously, that's Facebook and whatnot, but I don't know exactly what the hell they're doing with stablecoins. Ethereum shipped a massive upgrade, which went swimmingly, and I didn't even realize that was happening. And Bitcoin ripped through 100,000. I'm sitting here yesterday. And we got the hat, right? We got the hat right next to us, ready to, if you ever need to feel good, you just throw in the hat and you're like, all right, we're 10 out of 10 type of deal now. And then you get the notification that Bitcoin has touched $105,000, and you're like, holy suffering succotash. Wake up, fam. Internet capital markets are being built in real time, and it's pretty darn cool. So question, how many people did you talk to over the last little bit that have been like, yeah, I don't really like crypto, this stuff's not really feeling good, when we had like a minor dip? Now, of course, listen, we could absolutely completely crash here. Don't take that off the table, but it's insane, the negativity and people being like, I'm kind of scared of the market. Well, technically, the play was getting up financial advice, but at the time, it was like, hey, you know what? If you allocated a little bit more, well, listen, you break even on that, and then you're up a little, and then it's good. So, Doodles, this is a conversation that we all move into because there's a lot of different takes on this. I'm going to share mine. If you guys have any takes, let me know because I'm always down to be wrong. But we have a lot of people that are making various bullish cases for the Dude token that is coming out from Doodles. And the reference here is that Anime Token, which is from Azuki, again, another NFT collection, is chilling at 210 million fully diluted value, which is a 3x from the Dude token. So do you think that Azuki is 3x the general value of what you think Doodles will do? That's an open question. Let me know if you have any thoughts. Pengu is chilling at 1.25 billion fully diluted value, a 16.6x from Dude, not financial advice. Okay, so then the question again, do you think that Pudgy Penguins have done 16x the value of what Doodles have done? And then, so I saw there's another post that was a comment for it saying that neither have done the collabs that Doodles have. I'm like, that's a totally fair point. But then it goes back kind of to the clip of like Gary Vee when he's like, it's about the what the hell was the line? Like the demand creation, right? And so you have these cool things, and I think they're neat. But for me, what's the reason that I want to go out and buy a doodle versus one of these other collections versus Ethereum, Bitcoin, etc., when you have like this huge saturation of everything? That's the thing that I think needs to end up being nailed, because for a lot of these, you know, they come up and then there's like, what's the token sync? What are we exactly doing? It feels like there's not a whole lot of things that end up following suit. Now, the one good thing that we did see with doodles is there was a lot of people that were able to end up buying the NFTs if they wanted to, because as typical fashion does, you have the token drop and then and then the NFT drops in value with it, but people are able to jump on that. And yo, Frost, what's going on? So here's the explainer that I saw on the timeline regarding what the token use case is, because again, I went through like the DreamNet paper really quickly, and I was like, I kind of get this. It feels like it's very heavily related on AI, but let's see what Austin had to say. Big picture, Doodles is building the world's leading storytelling company. Here's how our strategy breaks down and how Dude helps to power it. We operate 4 major verticals: Golden Wolf, the Emmy-nominated animation studio, which again, I did very much enjoy the first episode of Doodles, and it felt like it was actually like a full-length episode, which was nice. The Doodles brand, building the #1 character brand. Crypto, powering Doodles Web3 and token ecosystems. And then DreamNet, AI-powered world-building protocol. Golden Wolf is our award-winning studio working with brands like Nike, Disney, and Meta. They've helped us build a sustainable business model while bringing Doodles IP to life in content, campaigns, and beyond. More campaigns equal more visibility, equal more demand for our ecosystem. So this is, taking the single point is very interesting, because if you look back for a second, and if you're familiar with the Good Vibes Club, one of their big pitches as they were minting out, and still subsequently if you go check it out, is that their studio has done a whole bunch of stuff for Meta, for Google, for all of these big players. And Golden Wolf, obviously their work was kind of like before the Web3 time, and that's the same with Good Vibes Club. But you have all of these natural players that are getting integrated with some of these bigger entities. And we're going to talk about in a little bit later how like Adidas is an example. It's gone horribly that Adidas has come into Web3, but it does show that these things are slowly starting to happen. Doodles is creating the most beloved character brand in the world. We're developing long-form content, shorts, brand collabs, and merch drops to reach millions. We use the growth of the brand to accelerate our adoption of the Doodles Web3 ecosystem, including new collecting and gamified experiences, robust digital identity and UGC tools, and continued development of the Dude token utility across collectibles, gaming, DeFi, and beyond. Again, I'm curious like what the hell the token use case like actually is, because that's the biggest thing. Do we have token sinks? Do we have demand? Why do I want to buy this token? DreamNet is the future of storytelling. AI meets on-chain creativity. We're building tools for fans and creators to co-create IP, build agents, and earn from their contributions. Dude is the first universe token of DreamNet, powering the Doodles ecosystem. So this is also sort of interesting, where it feels like there is a lot of stuff around AI, and I'm trying to think of like the proper way to word this, because I was thinking about it on the weekend, and this is not going to sound the right way. Maybe you guys can help me phrase it, but if we look back to some of the earlier days within the NFT space, there was a rush. A lot of people had sometimes the best intentions. Some people necessarily didn't have the best intentions, but there was like a narrative of you need to get into the market. There's just like the hot narratives, right? And it feels like the AI blockchain sort of thing feels like it's going to be like the next narrative of like, okay, how do we decipher what's going to be good versus what's going to be bad, right? And obviously Doodles has been around for a while, so I'd probably easily throw them into like the good pile, but it feels like we're starting to hear a lot more about like just AI and blockchain and people having something around that. So what does this all mean for Doodles, for holders of Dude and our collectibles? Dude wins on the mimetic potential of the brand and the utility being developed across our ecosystems. I don't know if I agree with like the Dude token being like a meme. Most of the tokens that come out and they're like, oh yeah, fart coin. It's like funny. I mean, dog with hat. I don't know why I found that funny. Obviously never really buy into memes much, but I don't really think like Dude has that much of like a mimetic potential. Maybe if the show gets huge, I like the brand aspect, but I don't really understand that component. More brand visibility, more token engagement and rewards, more media and content to collect, more ways to participate, create, and earn. We're not just building a brand. We're building a decentralized storytelling movement. Now, we've seen other people try to do something along those lines, where like Jenkins the Valet is an example, where they went over to Azurbala and they tried doing the storytelling and then that completely flopped. So maybe it's a little bit different with the AI side of things, but I mean, Society of the Hourglass, that was a very, very small collection that formed from the team that I think was a part of Dream Loops as well. Yo, Meme Whisper. Yo, Zerp, what's going on? Yeah, guys, again, we are over live on the Abstract chat. If anybody wants to join up on there, it's chiller. So, again, very curious to see what happens with Dude and all this kind of stuff, but I mean, we'll kind of see. Yo, Benz, what's going on? Appreciate you going through all that. Been holding my doodles since mint, but haven't followed what's happened. Hell yeah. So this is the other thing though, is like that DreamNet platform, I don't think that it's live. So we have like the token that's dropped, and then what can we use that on? And this is arguably the same argument for when Pudgy Penguin dropped with the Pengu token. It's like, all right, so you can use Pengu to like buy, sell, DeFi, whatever, donate to streamers, but I don't think that there was like any sort of staking. I don't think there was any sort of token sinks. It was like, we're going to have the token come out and then we're going to see what happens. And I really don't get why that seems to be the thing for every collection to go that route versus just having it all out. Okay, so within Web3, I do think that there's like a cool opportunity to create a new brand, a new description for things. And Veldan, have you guys ever heard of Veldan? Sounds like a character in some kind of like fantasy world, but this is one of the textures, worlds, vibes within Other Side. And I was like, you know what? I actually like that they're like trying to create something new, assuming that is new, because I looked it up and the only thing that came up was Veldan was an inhabitant of Syrian space colony. The colony was attacked by the Delics, and Veldan, along with 50 other colonists, were captured and taken to Skaro as part of the labor force looking for Davros. So I want to say that this is some kind of World of Warcraft type of deal, but this is almost kind of what like Doodles is trying to do, right? They're trying to have, you know, this Veldan person being an agent and then going into these worlds, and then you follow these different characters, and what exactly does that ultimately look like? Adam Wheatsmith, maybe the richest person in Web3. I've been a firm believer in the Faraway team and what they're doing with Rift AI. I'm excited to announce a major investment in a Rift token this past week using AI to simplify crypto is an important play they are making. Excited to see their launch in the coming months. I don't understand like that at all. So I've kind of been like out of things, right? Like, so Heavy Metal happened. Yuga sold off a bunch of stuff to Faraway. Faraway's continuing to do stuff. There seems to be like a huge amount of like angst between the people that were holding these different assets. Doesn't seem like anybody's really getting along. I have no idea what the hell is going on with it, but people are still chucking money into Web3. So hell yeah, bull market is here, baby. Gary V again, letting us know that there's been some mispriced things on here. So there's a black cat card, okay? So this is kind of small. Apologies if it's hard to see, but you see this black cat and how it has green eyes. So apparently what they did is like this cat's rare, but then they gave like 4 different colors of eyes, where like the green is, there's like 400 renditions. There's blue that's like 2,000. I don't know the exact colors, but part of me is like, I don't know if I'm supposed to FUD this and be like, listen, we could do a little bit better than changing the eye color. But I guess that is what it is. So is pointing out the fact that that was the mispriced one, and they sold the ultra rare one for like $100 with the other ones. And I actually did meet somebody to sell my VFriends cards that I had a while ago, and I was surprised. So that market is for sure heating up. But then also people are out now buying some fake chromes. Apparently this one was not real, but somebody spent $500 for it. Back was wrong. No official VFriends branding. Artwork uses the official Erupt pose. Card back doesn't match any real VFriends designs. And it's like, wow, how does blockchain end up fixing this? But they did do an event with Topps where I think this was in New York, where they had an absolute ton of people. So this goes back to the conversation around, all right, how do you get people onboarded within the space? And that might be the way to do it, as well as offering a shakaroni pizza from Papa John's. Holy smokes, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't known, it is back. We're talking 60 pieces of pepperoni on a New York style crust, extra large. I feel like the price has increased, but the Canadian dollar is also in the tank. So there's that. But just so you know, the shakaroni is back. 80% of you thought we were entering the Greatest Depression this time last month. I agree. This is why you always have to come up with your own thesis and then stick by your theses. Okay, so this is a few days ago when the market started going up, so context. The last 36 hours have shown that when ETH moves, the entire space feels different. ETH gaming, NFTs, and DeFi are the soul of crypto. When they're hot, it actually feels like a bull market. And I would agree with that. I feel like when Bitcoin was going up, everybody was like kind of just chilling. But now that ETH is up, man, everybody's having a good mood. Messages are flying. People are like, what are we doing, baby? It is phenomenal. Off the grid, breaking news again, the game that took a ton of the top streamers and attention by storm when it first launched, and it's getting integrated with the OpenSea store. So apparently right now that, like the marketplace or whatever, isn't super accessible per se, because I remember we commented or highlighted a story before where somebody paid, I don't know, like I think $1,200 for a gold mask within that game. But on a complete side note here, with it coming to OpenSea, go to the next post directly from here. Thank you, Tips. I'm going to be like, keep it 100. I don't know why. I feel like the OpenSea logo just like doesn't really work on things. Like it just doesn't look like it flows well. They've shown it where like the logo's on like weapons and whatnot. And I mean, maybe the text is okay. The logo, I don't know what it is. It feels like it just doesn't really fit. You know what I mean? Like certain logos are kind of cool. We're like, listen, the Houston Texans won this alternative, whatever this is. I think it's cool. The OpenSea logo, I'm finding it less and less cool. Intel, Spain to impose fines of up to 150,000 pounds on citizens who withdraw over 3,000 pounds in cash without giving 24-hour notice. I don't know. These headlines to be bullish on crypto just simply write themselves at this point. That's insane. Okay, so check out this. So you know the Los Angeles Clippers, right? They got that Inuit Dome, massive venue. This person was showing the courtside suites. This is crazy. Look at this. All right, so listen, we need the NFTs to moon. We need the crypto to moon. And then in, a year or whatever, we're getting season tickets. Yo, that looks fire. But it's hilarious to think of like how much they put into it for like 2 hours, right? But $2 million. Oh my God. Trying to think of what, you get like 36 home games or something like that. I mean, does look very cool, but wow, what an experience. And if you want 2 seats, it's $4 million. Unreal. I was just shilled a 15x at the airport. So at one of the airports, Texit Coin, whatever the hell that is, the future of money in Texas. They have an ad here for me that's on audio, and it shows like that it was at 2 cents, and then it went up to 45 cents, and how it increased by 1,500%. 1,500%. I don't really know what to think of that. It says available on Bitmark and Dex Trade. So it's funny that it's like a single exchange and then like go buy on secondary. But I mean, is that the future of what we're going to see with all of these cryptos? Is just like advertising in real life, that sort of way. Okay. At the beginning of the stream, we went over a huge thesis. Not really a thesis, but a perspective on the fact that there's a lot of major companies that seem to have connections into Web3 or are potentially going to have more doors open up. However, we have seen some things that have just like not really been good, and let's just go over it. Adidas made over 20 million selling NFTs, then they vanished. No roadmap, no comms, no exit tweet. Here's how they walked away from ALTS and what it reveals about the risk of trusting big brands in Web3. The launch felt legendary. In late 2021, Adidas teamed up with Bored Ape Yacht Club, Punks Comic, and G Money. They dropped into the metaverse and sold out 30,000 NFTs in hours. Hype maxed out. Expectations through the friggin' roof. Then came ALTS, a rebranding and evolution of the original collection. Adidas promised an interactive identity journey, commercial rights, metaverse utility, and exclusive experience. It felt like a long-term brand play. Chapter 1 dropped in 2023. Each NFT evolved into ALTS with the promise of dynamic traits, future phases, and long-term storytelling. Adidas built lore. They teased deeper integration with product lines. They hinted at real-world perks. Then nothing. After a few vague updates and minor merch drops, communication stopped. The phases never materialized. The Twitter account went quiet. The roadmap dust. The holders abandoned. No utility, no updates, no community management, no signal from Adidas if the project is dead or just in stealth mode. It's not just the silence, it's the disrespect. Web3 is built on trust, transparency, and community. You can't onboard a passionate base and then ghost them without explanation. So what went wrong? Corporate misalignment? Bear market panic, misunderstanding the Web3 ethos, whatever the reason, Adidas silence speaks volumes. Web3 remembers you don't get to experiment on the blockchain, take millions in ETH, and disappear. This wasn't just a failed marketing campaign, it was a broken promise to a loyal early community. So let's change up the perspective almost, just a tiny little bit, but keeping with the theme. The fact of people coming in and wanting to experiment within the market, I think, is good. We see, I would argue, everybody that's in Web3 right now is still experimenting. Sure, some have gotten more attraction. The demand side of things has, some teams have succeeded on that more than others for sure. But I think we can generally make the argument that it's still experimental. And so let's be overly optimistic for a second, and let's say that crypto absolutely gets up getting adopted by the world, which we're already on track to do there, and it really is kind of the pinnacle of everything, and every brand and company decides to do stuff on Web3. Now, you will have people that have never touched this side of things whatsoever, and there'll be no issues whatsoever. But the people that feel wronged from Artifact and the Nike deal, the people that felt wronged from the ALTS story that we just went over to, and if these brands come back, every single comment underneath is going to get hidden. Just like we talked about ever, because people are going to be bringing this up and they're going to have to live with the ghosts of yesterday's past. Unbelievable. There's your full circle moment. That's it for this edition of Web3 Talk with me. I don't know. We don't really call this anything. We call it XFeed. Maybe I need to come up with something a little bit bigger. But my thought with it initially was that when people would type on Google like XFeed when trying to search something, and I figured they would just pop up. That was my brilliant idea with it. But with that being said, if you want more content like this and something a little bit different, we do the RWA Segments podcast, which is me interviewing a whole bunch of other industry giants and people that are way smarter than me, talking about how real world assets are being tokenized and getting adopted within that right. You can check out that link down below if you're on YouTube, or if you happen to follow me on X, you can check that out, or if you just look up RWA Segments on any podcasting platform. Thank you so much for coming on through. M. Tully, Dr. Batcow, T-Doge, RDL, Peckham, Froz, and Benz. Wow, we got a full friggin' house today. Appreciate you guys. Enjoy your week. Happy Monday. See you tomorrow. Peace.